Recently, I watched Sarai's video about her favorite first lines in books. I know she was inspired to do that by someone else, I think Roxanne from the novel Sanctuary, and it really, really made me want to read all of the first sentences from the books in my collection, because the first sentences sometimes are so good, but I usually don't notice them until after I've read the book once or maybe even twice. I have to go back to the beginning of the book sometimes to even remember how it really began when I get to the end. So I just thought this would be a really fun thing to do. I needed to go through my collection and organize my books anyway. So as I was taking them all off the shelves and then putting them back on, I read the first lines. And I think that was about 500 books. I only went through books that I've already read, so I excluded my TBR shelves, and I only read the first lines of novels, so I also excluded short story collections. I did read the first lines of books that were in omnibuses though. So that was a lot of first lines. I found 30 that I want to share with you guys. I really enjoy these first lines, either because they made me want to read the book again, or because they just had so much more meaning when I could see them through the lens of having read the entire story. So 30 is a bit much to put in one video, so I decided I will chop this into 3 parts and have a little series of favorite first lines from books from my collection that I've already read. So here we go. These are in pretty random order, by the way, though I've kept books by the same authors together. This first one from my first stack of 10 is The Player of Games by Iain M. Banks. I read this about 3 years ago, I think, so it's been a while. I never did a standalone review of it, which is one of my regrets. The first sentence of this is spot on. Having read the book, it is spot on. This is the story of a man who went far away for a long time just to play a game. You could read it as funny, you could read it as serious. It's a very true statement of fact, and either way that you read it, you're right, because the culture novels, they are funny, they are serious, they are violent, all at once, I think. It's a perfect first sentence that tells you exactly what the book is, without giving anything away. These next 2 are by Diane and Wynne Jones, and honestly I thought that I would have more favorite first sentences from my Jones collection up here. I only had 2 that really caught my attention though, for whatever reason. Most of her books are for younger readers, but this first one is Dogsbody, which I think is a middle grade or kind of YA story. I have read this a very, very long time ago when I was very young, and I don't remember much of it, but there was something about this first sentence that really made me want to continue reading. And it is, "The dog star stood beneath the judgment seats and raged." I think the story is actually about the dog star, Sirius, in the body of a dog, which makes this first line really interesting. Whether you know the entire story or not, I think my interest was piqued all over again by that one. My other one by Diane and Wynne Jones is Deep Secret. I reread this back in 2016, I think. I did a full review on it too, because oh man, I love this book just as much the second time around. It's a novel for adults rather than for children. And I don't know, this first sentence, I remember it thrilling me when I reread the book, I rediscovered what the story was going to feel like and everything. And then I read it again yesterday when I was going through my collection, and yeah. I may as well start with some of our deep secrets because this account will not be easy to understand without them. Who is we? What are deep secrets? Why do you need to know them? What is this even going to be about? I don't know. I really like that first sentence for some reason. Then I have China Mieville's The City and the City. This is another first line that really made me want to continue reading, and it's a first line that means 2 very different things. In the context of the first paragraph, it means quite literally what it says, but in the context of the entire book, of the premise of 2 cities existing in the same spot that can't see each other, it means something even more. So the first line is, "I could not see the street or much of the estate." Literally and figuratively. And of course, you knew some Flavia de Luce would be in here. This is The Weed That Strings the Hangman's Bag by Alan Briley, which is the second book in this mystery series. Flavia has some great lines, and she puts herself into some very odd situations purposefully. So the beginnings of most of the books in this series are quite interesting. This is a very short first sentence that I think tells you so much about Flavia. "I was lying dead in the churchyard." The next sentence makes it sound like she's literally dead, but it is exactly like Flavia to go into a churchyard and lay down and pretend to be a corpse for the heck of it, you know? But why? Why? And why is that important? And do other people know she's doing it? Then there is Autonomous by Annalee Newitz. This is another one I've done an entire review on when it came out last year. I did not remember this first line at all. In fact, I remembered the book starting in a very different way, so it was good to reread the beginning of this. And I like this one because it seems like it's one of those typical first sentences that's very situational. It tells you where somebody is and what they're doing, and maybe even like what the landscape is like around them. But this is actually the crux of the entire plot. The student wouldn't stop doing her homework, and it was going to kill her. Then there is After Atlas by Emma Newman. I love Emma Newman's books. And this is another one that I didn't remember this first sentence. In fact, I didn't even remember exactly why it was the way it was, and I kept reading like page after page to rediscover what this first sentence meant, which I think is a sign that a first line is brilliant. It makes you keep reading. "It's times like these, when I'm hunkered in a doorway, waiting for a food market of dubious legality to be set up, that I find myself wishing I could eat like everyone else." This is science fiction, so at first it sounds like it might be fantasy. Why can't you eat? You can't eat like everyone else? Are you a vampire? Are you a werewolf or something? But no, so in a science fictional world, why can't this main character eat like everyone else? Why are food markets illegal, perhaps? Like, why? Why is the world the way it is? What created this situation? I want to continue reading so bad. Then this next one is The Quantum Thief by Hannu Rajaniemi, which is a first sentence I've read multiple times in various videos, one of them relatively recently, because it is one of my favorite first sentences of all time. And it's another one that very quickly, in a very compressed way, sets up all these ideas of a world that makes you ask, why? What is going on here? I have to keep reading to figure out what this means. "As always, before the war mind and I shoot each other, I try to make small talk." What's a war mind? Why are they shooting each other? How are they doing it over and over again? Why do you even want to make small talk with a thing that's trying to shoot you? It takes place in the beginning in a prison, which might explain some of that stuff, but it's a great hook. Next up is The Dispossessed by Ursula K. Le Guin. And this one is the shortest first line out of all the ones that I picked, my pile of 30 here. And I'm not sure if it's that it's a great first line or that I know it's a great first paragraph. It's just a great first chapter and introduction to this story. But the first sentence is the image that you need going in. And it is, "There was a wall." It's a symbol, it's a metaphor that perfectly introduces the plot, I think. My last favorite first line from this batch of 10 comes from So You Want to Be a Wizard by Diane Duane. I'll admit that this one isn't quite as promise heavy, it's not quite as enticing as some of these other first lines, but this is an extremely nostalgic book for me, and the entire opening scene is seared into my memory for some reason. So this is the first book in the Young Wizard series, and the first couple of books like this one are really middle grade, more like younger children's stories. And the first line is, "Part of the problem," Nita thought as she tore desperately down Rose Avenue, "is that I can't keep my mouth shut." Yep. she's running away from some bullies basically, and is about to run straight into the magical world in many ways. It's great. I loved it. So those are the first 10 of my favorite first lines from books from my collection. I hope you enjoyed this. Hope it maybe enticed you to check out some of these books perhaps. Let me know what some of your favorite first lines are in the comments down below, and I'll be back with the next installment in this little series eventually. And until then, bye.